The story begins 5 years ago in Mosul, Afghanistan. A drone flies over a dusty village as a man runs down the road, shouting to warn a group of Taliban fighters. The man tells an older Taliban member that the Americans are coming. The fighters quickly start burying IEDs in the ground. Moments later, a team of American soldiers arrives to scout the area. The village looks empty, but the Taliban are hiding inside the houses. Pretty Boy, the squad leader, moves forward carefully and spots a man setting up a bomb. The soldiers surround him, with Jake urging the man to drop the weapon. Jake gets impatient and shouts, threatening to shoot if the man doesn't listen. The man refuses to comply and suddenly pulls out a gun, forcing the soldiers to open fire and kill him. A few seconds later, Colonel Tom Mason, their commanding officer, contacts them over the radio, asking for a status update. Jake reports that the man they shot was an informant and that they found an IED planted for them. Jake asks for permission to disarm it, but Mason orders him not to. Jake ignores the order and goes ahead, successfully disarming the bomb. However, before they can breathe easy, a second hidden bomb explodes. The blast kills everyone except Jake. Immediately, Taliban fighters ambush them, firing from all sides. Jake barely manages to get up and run while Mason covers him. He fights back and returns to help Mason, but as they defend themselves, an enemy sneaks up behind Jake. Mason reacts quickly and saves Jake's life, narrowly avoiding death himself. In the present day, Jake is no longer a soldier, but a civilian struggling with the trauma of war. He suffers from PTSD and takes medication to cope. He works at Earl's Auto Shop in Riverside, California, trying to rebuild his life. Later that day, Jake returns home to his wife, Ashton, and their family. They share a happy moment, but Ashton soon shows him a pile of unpaid bills. She expresses concern about their financial struggles, but Jake reassures her, saying they will get through it together like always. He lightens the mood by playfully stealing a piece of chicken and running off. The next day at work, Jake encounters trouble when a group of Mexican gangsters shows up. Earl owes them money, and the gang leader, Fresh, comes to collect. The argument quickly escalates into a fight. Jake proves his combat skills, taking down several gang members with ease. Just as he turns to face Fresh, the gangster pulls a gun and stops him. Fresh warns Jake that they will meet again and leaves with his men. After the fight, Jake confronts Earl, demanding to know why he's involved with such dangerous people. Earl admits that he used to be part of that gang but managed to leave that life behind. He explains that all he wants now is to protect his shop and his neighborhood. Jake worries about the safety of his family, but Earl promises he will do whatever it takes to keep them safe. That night, tragedy strikes. Fresh shows up at Jake's home seeking revenge. Jake rushes inside only to find his family brutally murdered. Overcome with grief, he screams in anguish, collapsing beside them. Police arrive shortly after, trying to calm him down, but Jake is completely shattered. In a rage, he storms out, determined to find Fresh and avenge his family. He soon spots Fresh's car parked outside a club. Without hesitation, Jake attacks, shooting down members of the gang. When he finally corners Fresh, the gangster pleads for his life, claiming he had no choice but to kill Jake's family. But Jake shows no mercy. Without a second thought, he pulls the trigger and kills Fresh on the spot. 5 months later, Jake is serving time in prison for killing Fresh and his men. He is broken by the loss of his wife and child, and the memories of that night still haunt him. Mason visits him, hoping to help with his case, but Jake refuses. He believes he deserves to stay in prison for what he has done. Mason tries to comfort him, but Jake admits that he killed those men without regret and would do it all over again if he had to. Before Mason leaves, Jake tells him never to visit again. Not long after, Jake receives an unexpected visitor named Ramsey, who runs a private task force. Jake refuses to listen and walks away before Ramsey can fully explain his offer. That same night, masked men break into Jake's cell and kidnap him. Moments later, Jake wakes up to see Ramsey and realizes he was behind the abduction. Ramsey tells Jake he has been watching him for a long time and is impressed by his skills and military record. He gives Jake a choice: rot in prison for the rest of his life, or join his secret unit and start over. After thinking about it, Jake chooses to work for Ramsey's organization, a covert government agency known as Section 8. In Washington, D.C., Ramsey officially introduces Jake to the rest of the team: Elias, Ajax, Brunner, and Muller. He explains that their missions are off the books and very dangerous. Before they leave the room, Jake quietly takes a pen from a nearby desk and hides it. Ramsey then tells Jake that his old identity is gone. Officially, he is considered dead. From now on, he will live under a new name and background story. Once Ramsey leaves, the team tests Jake with a brutal initiation. Ajax provokes Jake into fighting by mocking him. At first, Jake stays calm, but when Ajax pushes him too far, he fights back and almost stabs Ajax in the eye with the pen he stole. Just before he strikes, memories of his family flash in his mind, and he stops himself. Soon, Jake is sent on his first mission with Mueller. She explains that their target is Alejandro Castillo, a defense contractor who secretly sells weapons on the black market. Castillo plans to sell a set of classified weapon schematics to Russian buyers. Jake's mission is to retrieve the files and kill Castillo before the deal is completed. They travel to Mexico, where Castillo is meeting with Johnny, a Russian negotiator, in a warehouse. As they talk, Jake sneaks inside and silently takes down one of Castillo's guards. The noise alerts Castillo and Johnny, causing them to turn on each other. A heated argument quickly turns into a gunfight. Jake uses the chaos to his advantage, moving through the area and eliminating anyone left standing. In the end, Castillo is wounded, and Jake finishes the job. Before leaving, he notices two innocent women hiding in fear. Instead of killing them, he lets them go, takes the files, and escapes. When they return to base, Ramsey is furious that Jake left witnesses alive. He warns Jake that he must follow orders or risk being sent back to prison. Jake is then dismissed. Afterward, Mueller gives her evaluation, praising Jake for completing the mission, but Ramsey is still unhappy with him. The next day, Locke carries out another mission. His target is a man who knows too much about Ramsey. The man tries to buy his way out with a bribe, but Locke kills him anyway. On his way out, hotel security grows suspicious and chases after him. Locke easily fights his way through the guards and escapes by stealing a car. Meanwhile, Jake moves into his new home. While unpacking, he finds an old photo of himself with Mason from their days in Afghanistan. The photo reminds him of a moment when Jake blamed himself for Mason's injury. In that memory, Mason told Jake that war was full of hard choices and that guilt would destroy him if he didn't let go. Later, Mueller finds Jake sitting alone in a pub. They share a few drinks and start talking. Jake asks her about Ramsey, wanting to know more about the man in charge, but Mueller claims she doesn't know anything. When Jake presses her for her own story, she reveals that she used to be in the army but was discharged after punching her commanding officer. Soon after, Ramsey gathers the team for a new mission. Their target is State Senator Jim Graham. The job has two objectives: retrieve sensitive digital files and eliminate Graham. Mueller is tasked with recovering the files, Jake is assigned to keep watch from above, and the rest of the team will provide backup. Ramsey warns them that security will be heavy and they should be ready to fight. The team heads to California, going undercover as landscapers to get close to Graham's estate. Once inside, Mueller takes out a few guards quietly, but one of them raises the alarm, blowing their cover. Chaos erupts as gunfire breaks out. Jake chases after Graham while Mueller focuses on securing the files. Jake eventually corners Graham, but when he sees Graham terrified and pleading for his life, mentioning his family, Jake hesitates. Before Jake can make a decision, Ajax arrives and coldly shoots Graham without a second thought. That night, Jake is deeply troubled. Graham's words about his family remind him of his own wife and child, filling him with guilt. His hesitation during the mission puts him in danger, as Section 8 now considers him a liability. Masked men storm Jake's home to kill him, but he narrowly escapes. Desperate, Jake goes to see Mason and explains what's happening. Mason warns him that if Section 8 is after him, he's in serious trouble. Jake asks Mason for help, some money and a gun, so he can survive and fight back. When Jake returns to Riverside, he learns something shocking. His late son's best friend reveals that before Jake's family was murdered, Fresh had been seen with men in suits, suggesting the attack was more than just gang violence. Before the boy can say more, Locke shows up and opens fire, trying to silence him. Jake narrowly escapes as Locke ruthlessly shoots anyone in his path, including police officers. Afterward, Locke calls Ramsey to report his failure. Ramsey mocks him, which only pushes Locke to become even more determined to capture Jake. Later that same day, Jake's location is discovered. Elias and Bruner track him to Earl's auto shop. A brutal fight breaks out as Jake battles them both, ultimately killing them. Ajax arrives next, proving to be a far more dangerous opponent. During the intense fight, Ajax nearly overpowers Jake and almost stabs him. At the last moment, Mueller appears and shoots Ajax dead, saving Jake. After the fight, Earl gives Jake a set of car keys and tells him to get out before the police show up. As they drive away, Jake and Mueller argue. Neither of them fully trusts the other. Jake demands to know where Ramsey is, determined to end everything once and for all. Mueller finally agrees, and they head to Montana, where Ramsey is scheduled to meet with several congressmen. When they arrive, they try to sneak into the cabin where the meeting is being held. But before Jake can react, he is blindsided and knocked unconscious. Jake wakes up tied to a chair. In front of him stands Ramsey, with Mueller at his side. Ramsey smiles coldly and tells Jake that everything was a setup, a carefully planned trap. The door opens, and to Jake's shock, Tom walks in. Confused and angry, Jake demands to know what's going on. Ramsey reveals the painful truth. They were the ones behind the murder of Jake's family. They believed his wife and child were holding him back, calling them a waste of his potential. Tom hands over a briefcase of money to Ramsey before leaving the room. As Mueller checks the money, Tom secretly returns, and cuts Jake free. He whispers the truth. He was actually hired to take down Section 8 and has been working undercover the whole time. Suddenly, alarms blare throughout the compound. Ramsey's men rush in, but Jake and Tom fight back fiercely. Though heavily outnumbered, the two manage to overpower the guards with skill and determination. Eventually, they corner Ramsey. Jake makes it clear that he wants to kill him with his own hand. Ramsey, desperate to save himself, tries to manipulate Jake by turning him against Tom, but Jake refuses to believe him. At that moment, Myler sneaks up and aims her gun at Jake. Before she can shoot, Tom jumps in front of Jake and takes the bullet, sacrificing himself. As Tom dies, Ramsey uses the chaos to escape. Fueled by rage, Jake fights Muller. At first, she has the upper hand, but Jake turns the fight around and kills her in a swift move. Without wasting time, he chases after Ramsey. The pursuit ends when Ramsey crashes his car into oncoming traffic. Badly injured, Ramsey mocks Jake for hesitating during their earlier missions. Before Ramsey can say another word, Jake shoots him, ending it for good. Later, Jake meets with Attorney General Savoy. Savoy praises him and offers him a clean slate, along with a place in a new secret unit. He also explains that Tom had been working for them all along. Jake, still grieving, declines the offer, saying he has nothing left to fight for. Savoy respects his choice but gives him his card in case he changes his mind. When Jake returns home, Locke is waiting for him. Locke, determined to finish what Ramsey started, attacks without hesitation. A brutal fight breaks out. Locke initially overpowers Jake, but Jake eventually gains control, grabs a gun, and kills him. In the final scene, Jake sends a heartfelt voice message to Earl, thanking him for saving his life just like his father once did. Earl is overcome with emotion as he listens. Meanwhile, Jake boards a bus, his future uncertain. As he sits quietly, he pulls out Savoy's card and makes a call. On the other end, Savoy answers and welcomes him to Section 9. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this.